And I ended up walking out when he got announced with him and all his crew. I was like ringside for the whole thing. I was in his dressing room when he cut his birthday cake. I was like at the press conference front row. I was just taking a piss, really.
The first one I ever saw from you was the famous Conor McGregor one. Kate went viral on Facebook. You got to talk us through that.
Oh, that was stupid numbers. Yeah, that, so...
What numbers, how many numbers did that get?
On Uni Lads, it was 65 mil or something
Fucking
like that.
hell.
I was
Facebook
not expecting that
views,
much.
So
No.
but that was like... And the channel at that point was at 400 subscribers, so I was like a struggling kind of YouTuber. I was doing freelance videography work at the time just to like make money. And yeah, that kind of just come out of nowhere, and it was such big news in mainstream press and on Facebook the week before that it couldn't kind of not go viral. So it was the Conor McGregor effect, but it just fucking blew up, and yeah, it was like articles written about it, people making reacting videos, and then all of a sudden this dead YouTube channel was on like, I think it was 30k overnight. So I was like, oh shit, I could actually do this.
What made you think of doing it? Like, what made you think, you know what? I dare to do this.
I should just say before we go further. So what happened was you managed to sneak ringside and backstage for the Conor McGregor Mayweather fight.
It was actually the press conference in London ahead of the main fight.
Oh,
but this
of course,
was a fucking spectacle. So it was essentially the same like gravitas of event. There was like Irish fans coming down to London. Everyone was smashed. I didn't know what to expect, and that was what it was. And I ended up walking out when he got announced with him and all his crew. I was like ringside for the whole thing. I was in his dressing room when he cut his birthday cake. I was like at the press conference front row. I was just taking a piss, really. I was fucking
That's
everywhere.
all your channel is, really.
That night. It's just in the background.
Cool.
Like, hey.
That's a new slogan, actually. It just taking a piss, really.
Just taking a
We've been
piss.
trying to
Yeah,
find a slogan.
that's quality.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you said, Stevie, what was your idea? How did you get that idea? What did you?
So we obviously, as we said, started off in festivals, and that was all like fun and games. And the end goal with that was like I'd filmed a load of shit. I hadn't made the videos, so I kind of just binned that one off. And then at the end of summer, it was the Olympic homecoming parade. So that was when we took the jump from like just fucking around to here's a target, here's what we want to get done. We want to jump on the homecoming bus with Olympians, dressed as Olympians, and just ride it down the street, see how long we'll last.
Yeah.
So that was the first one, which was like an actual official, like they had spent millions on security and all sorts. So that was like,
And it worked well then.
and it fucking worked well, and it worked
Yeah.
perfectly.
Fucking
So
brilliant.
that was the first one of its kind in like, it was a sporting niche and all that stuff. So I was like, it was actually Jamie texted me saying like, Mayweather McGregor is in London this weekend or whenever it was. You should do it. And I literally just started doing research straight away, and the research period is normally like 5 hours of just scrolling through hashtags and shit like that. And it was then Mayweather's like personal driver that had put, it was a little flex on the Instagram. He put up the photos of the passes, AAA ones, along with like
Not
a
bad.
few Rolexes
Yeah,
and shit like
yeah,
that. So I was
oh,
like, right,
yeah,
this
yeah.
one's mine.
Yeah.
And I actually gave him a little shout out in the vid, so I'm pretty sure he's fine.
You said that as if you're doing him a favour there. Like,
Yeah.
give him a shout out.
I made sure they
Shout
knew
out.
it's his
Ruined his
fault.
followers, lost
Ruined
his
his
job.
life.
Uber now.
Yeah.
And more
Yeah, so
Rolexes.
that was literally the most perfect.
So you take this guy's uploaded the picture of the
Yeah.
pass, you screenshot it, and
Screenshot it,
you
take it straight from Instagram, and usually there's a bit of like bodging going on with Photoshop, and I've got better at Photoshop since doing all this shit, but at the start it was awful.
was it?
This one was obviously easy because it was just a straight print screen. I cropped around it. I fucked around with a few things. I put Floyd Mayweather's nipple in his eye, so I replaced his eye with a nipple, and just little things like that. But for the most part, it was pretty much the same.
Yeah.
So yeah, just rolled up.
Fuck's
I'd
sake,
laminated this pass, and it was the first time I used the Tesco's laminator. People thought I had a brand deal from Tesco's because I just kept doubling down on that as a joke. But yeah. Anyway, went to the event, rocked up, drove it to London, blah blah, blah, and
So you went on your own.
yeah, loner, yeah.
That's mad because
Went
I
by
often
myself.
get confident in numbers. I'm one of these guys where if I'm with my mates, I'll act like I'm way harder than I am.
Yeah,
I am.
yeah.
But you've driven from where?
Midsummer Norton in Somerset. Town of 10,000.
To go and eat birthday cake.
That
Yeah,
is,
yeah,
That
it
is
was
fucking nuts.
It was a
His little
pilgrimage.
suit, like,
I
go on.
remember like driving into London. I'd never driven to London before, and I was like, I was listening to Eminem, just hyping myself up. I was like, come on. And yeah, got there and shat myself for a little while. But yeah, I
I'd
prevailed.
feel uncomfortable going to an event that I've paid for on my own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah.
true. So when you got there, you get there equipped with your pass, your camera,
Your suit from graduation.
your suit.
Yes, mate.
Talk us through the steps. What happens?
So you find a car park. No, you basically just rock up to the event. You see, there was a massive queue around the outside of the building, so I knew those kind of like doors, which are the regular doors, they're kind of easy because it's hectic, and the people who are doing the tickets is like people everywhere. It's like one in. So I originally tried to get through one of those doors, and they were like, they saw my credentials, and they were like, oh no, you're on this one. And I was like, oh shit. Okay, so they kind of just glanced at it. They thought it was legit. So then I get behind Mayweather's crew, and I still don't know who this guy is. I think his name's Sam, but he's big in the boxing world, basically. And I recognise him, didn't know his name or his role, but I basically scooched in behind them, and I was pressed up behind this boxer called Joseph Joyce or something like that.
Right.
And he's like a heavyweight champion, whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't know him at the time, just seen he's a massive guy.
Mm.
So I was kind of like shimmying behind him, and they all just got clicked through because they're like VIPs, and I was just in the midst of these VIPs. So I just got waved on through. The scanners went off, beep, 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 everything, and they were just like, "No, keep going." And I had my camera, everything. I could have had anything on me, to be fair, but yeah, at that point I was in, and then the next level was like backstage, and that was when I was like kind of faced with the first issue, which was like, where the fuck do I go? And then will these passes work? But yeah, everything just fell into place, and it worked like
Fucking hell.
clockwork.
What was the story you said, I think on your channel, where you said about the guy said it wasn't the right pass, but luckily you had like a...
Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So the door that I get down, there's two doors as you get in. The main door to the spectator area where all the riffraff was going.
So where was this?
Then-
Sorry, this was Wembley, was it?
Like me saying this, yeah. Wembley SSU. They hate me. But yeah, Wembley staff. So yeah, I find this backstage door, and it's just an inconspicuous little door. I originally walk into someone's office, and I was like, oh shit, sorry. I was like, do you know where backstage is? And she pointed me in the right direction. There was just one guy, and I'm not even kidding when I say this. He was sat on the bench, like opposite this door, just staring at the wall. And yeah, and he was the first guy. So I walked through the first set of doors, and I'm like, shit. And this is in the vid, like I'm reacting like in real time, like what the fuck's just happened? I think I'm like the next door is backstage. Open the door, and then there's this big guy, and he basically like grabs the pass, and he's got this whole kind of like thing on the wall of the passes that are allowed down. There's only one that's allowed, and that's a blue one. So he grabs my yellow pass because I came prepared, which was a media pass saying, nope, like this isn't the right one. So I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure there's just a mix up, blah, blah, blah. Went back, went into the toilet, switched passes with the blue one that I made. And next thing you know,
Boom.
boom.
We're
Take
in.
you
So I'm
straight
like,
through.
you never guess what. It was a mix up at the desk. Yeah, there's shit up there. Yeah.
So it was purely by chance that you'd made a blue one, or is it because you saw on the guys?
So I knew that was like the top tier, and I didn't want to take the piss. I'm a humble guy. I didn't want to go in as a promoter. I looked fucking 12 at the time. Right? So yeah, I tried my luck with the media because I had the camera.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, so I walked by, and obviously media wasn't enough. So I convinced this guy, and I was kind of gauging his response.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm meant to have one of those. Like, let me go and check. And he was like, yeah, cool. So I just balled in at that point. I was like, I need to get it through this next layer. And I was like, yeah, mate, they got it wrong. And yeah, I treated him right though. I bought him a pint, and like, he was in my back pocket for the rest of the day. It was all good.
So
Fair
then
play.
you've got to the ultimate bit. You've got into McGregor's dressing room or whatever. Was it his dressing room?
Sounds weird.
Was it?
Yeah, it was his dressing room.
Yeah.
Right. So at that point, I was ringside. So I was with the VIP lot, and I was kind of just waiting for showtime. Text Jamie saying, what can I do to make this kind of like a good vid? Make
Where
it
are you
worth
at the
it?
time?
In the pub.
Nothing to do with it.
Yeah. So were you watching it on TV?
I don't even know if it was on TV. No, I think I was just in the pub. I was thinking of this, yeah. But I
6 pints
was
down.
thinking about it because
Yeah.
it was like, oh, I'm backstage in McGregor's dressing room. What should I do? And I originally texted him like 3 days early to say you should go to the event. So when he texted me saying I'm in the dressing room, I was like, oh, nice one, mate.
That's mad.
Don't know, what can you do?
Yeah. So then
Class.
it was a case of waiting until like the actual event was on, and I basically just followed McGregor's crew, and then he got announced, and I was like just part of the crew basically from that point onwards.
And no one
But
questioned
yeah,
it.
it's mad that no one questioned it.
Yeah, it's very weird that no one did.
So just to paint more of a picture, like, so you got this group of people. Are they all like chatting amongst themselves, and you're just sort of like keeping yourself to yourself?
So the crew, it's a weird setup because he's got. I didn't know anyone. I knew McGregor and I knew Mayweather and I recognised a few of the boxing heads, but I'm not in the MMA world. I don't really care about boxing, which kind of did me. I wasn't nervous at that point because I didn't know who anyone was. So I was with this crew, and it turns out it was like his manager, his private security. There was about 4 of them. His personal videographer and his personal photographer, and then just me, like filming at the side. And if anyone would have like just clocked out of their headspace and just looked at me, they'd have been like, "Who the fuck is that guy?"
Yeah, exactly. That's what I can't get. How the fuck did they not just think, like, who the fuck is this kid? Like, what the fuck? That's mad.
Yeah, and then I got a lot of questions after
mental.
saying, "You're not like worried about getting like banged out because you're there with one of the hardest guys in the world, arguably."
Yeah.
And but yeah, no, I just stayed off a little bit.
Did you get to speak to him?
No, I fucked that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the biggest regret of the whole thing. So I waited round and I did the whole. I got announced, walked out with them when he was getting announced. I did the whole ringside thing, and then as he was like getting ushered backstage, I then followed him as part of the crew. And then I was in his dressing room, and at that point he did one interview, and then it was kind of like private time. They shut the door, and it was like his 30th birthday, which I didn't know. And there was a cake on the side with his name on it. They cut the cake. They all like had a big.
So
cake.
when they shut the door, were you're still in there?
I was deep in there because I'd followed the media guys in because I was like, there was one interview. I didn't know where it went, but like an official looking interview. And yeah, I'm pretty sure you could see me in the background. Like I kind of like walked in and then walked round the back, and I was just by here. I was by a fruit bowl and I was by the cake. That's all I remember. And then
Was that a decent cake?
It was Irish flag.
Oh, right. Right.
Yeah.
Little caterpillar cake.
Yeah.
So
how many people were in that room at this point?
it was literally a handful. It was about like 8 or 9 people.
So that's when they should be looking at you.
Yeah, because I would have.
Talk
I
about
was stuck
hiding
at like
in
a
plain
sore thumb.
sight.
I was like
Fuck me.
secretly filming, so I was probably looking down at my camera, dead nervous half the time, and I was just there chatting to no one. I wasn't even fucking attempting to speak to anyone. So I was literally there, and they were discussing like what needs to be said at the press conference, and then he was like, "I need to get home by like 1 a.m. because like his kid needed going to bed or some shit like that." And then at that point, it was like the press conference area. And I was just with the crew at that point. So I was like side of stage. I had the best seat in the house.
Fuck.
And then it was like the
hell.
last stage of that was like the world's press. So it was like the whole of the world's press. You got the Americans, everything, hustling for a spot. And I just basically stood at the end of the queue. And the idea was to ask him a question which I got off of Reddit, which is like, what would win in the fight out of 20 duck-sized horses or 1 horse-sized duck? A classic. So I was going to replace like the horse with like Mayweather and just ask him that. He probably would have chinned me if I asked him it.
One duck-sized Mayweather.
Yeah, or 20 Mayweather. No, yeah,
20 ducks.
Oh no, because if you have
1
20
Mayweather-sized duck or 20 duck-sized Mayweather.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I think it'd be all right just fighting 1 Mayweather duck.
Sweet, brilliant.
Yeah.
He would have actually won that one.
Yeah,
Sorry.
So I'm stood there waiting for him to do his whole like official press stuff, and I was just fucking dead nervous at the point. It kind of like the tension was building the closer he got to me, and I just crumbled. It like nothing came out when I went to talk. He looked at me in the eye, and then he moved on within like 2 seconds because I bitched out, and yeah, that was the big regret.
Yeah, you can't
But
keep
mate,
yourself for that.
no.
Chalk that up as a win.
Yeah.
100%. Chalk it up as when you looked him in the eye. 100%.